Hello and welcome. My name is Adrena and I'm the owner and accountant here at Accounting by Adrena. And in today's video, we're going to be talking all about the month-end bookkeeping cycle. Now, if you're new here, I usually do videos about QuickBooks, bookkeeping, accounting, planning, all of that good stuff. So if you're not subscribed, make sure that you are subscribed today and you will stay up to date on all things accounting and bookkeeping and QuickBooks, by the way. I also have a weekly newsletter that I send out, and so I want to make sure that if you haven't subscribed to that, you can go ahead and do so with the link down in the description box. And I'm also going to be linking several other videos that kind of like connect with this video. So if you have any questions along what we're talking about in terms of the process, you can go ahead and find those other videos down also in the description box below. All right, let's jump in. So first off, what is the month-end bookkeeping cycle? Now, if you are a small business owner, an entrepreneur, and you've heard accountants and bookkeepers talk about this month-end bookkeeping cycle, this is what they're referring to. Basically, it is a series of accounting activities and procedures that are performed at the end of each month to ensure accurate and up-to-date financial records for a business. In fact, the month-end bookkeeping cycle is actually crucial for financial management, for reporting, and for decision making. I would also go like a step further because not only does it help you with financial management, reporting, and decision making, but this also informs your tax return and your business's tax return. And if these records aren't in tip-top shape and you have questions from your tax accountant, from your CPA, or if you have questions from the IRS and they do an audit of your books, this is really what it's going to come down to. Are there good checks and balances in place for your month-end bookkeeping cycle? So it is really, really important. So what are the steps? What are these different activities and procedures that encompass the month-end bookkeeping cycle? First of all, it includes recording your transactions. Now, you've heard me talk about, if you've been here for a while, you've heard me talk about the bank screen in QuickBooks and making sure that you're using a specific cadence in order to bring those transactions from the banking screen into your accounting in QuickBooks. So essentially what that is if you are using any accounting system, so for example, I specifically use QuickBooks. So I'm going to be using QuickBooks as like my reference point, but in terms of entering your transactions so that they're captured into your general ledger. Your general ledger is basically a listing of all of your itemized, detailed transactions that are included in your financial reports. So this kind of makes up your entire financial reporting. Now, each of these transactions are coming through from a bank. For example, you might have a checking account, a savings account, a credit card account. So any of those transactions related to your business in those accounts, you need to make sure that you're accepting those transactions and categorizing them within a certain cadence. And I normally talk about how when I do this for my clients, I either do it on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, depending on the number of transactions that are coming through their banking feed. So figure out a cadence that works for you and stick to it, because the more you get into that habit, the easier it is for you to do this one particular step that is so important. In fact, for my own books, I normally do this on Wednesdays. So Wednesday is my day that I just focus in on my bookkeeping and I get everything done that I need to get done, pay bills, pay contractors, and those types of things on Wednesdays. Now, if you don't have a lot of transactions coming through your bank feed, then you might not need to do this every week, and every other week might be a better cadence for you. So you just need to figure out what works for you, develop the habit, and stick to it. All right, so that is your utmost important task, activity, procedure that you need to make sure that you're doing within your month-end bookkeeping cycle. Now, at the end of every month, you're going to be receiving all sorts of reports. So you'll receive your checking account statement, you'll receive your savings account statement. And so for this next step, you really want to gather all relevant data. So downloading bank statements, and you would also include any kind of sales data that you might be using like a separate system. For example, you might be using Stripe or Square or PayPal, whatever is relevant to your business. You want to download all those reports for the previous month and make sure that you're capturing that data in your accounting system, whether that be QuickBooks or not. So after you download it, you may actually need to enter the data into your accounting, into your general ledger, if it's not already included. And within gathering all the data, this would also include any payroll reports. So usually, like, if clients are using QuickBooks, then it's already integrated, so that's like not a big deal. But if a client is using like a payroll system outside of QuickBooks, or even if you're not using QuickBooks and you're using QuickBooks Payroll, whatever the case may be, I usually look for a report for payroll that's called the detailed payroll report. And this is something that's going to help me do the journal entry if I need to do a journal entry for payroll into the accounting general ledger. Okay, so let's review. So we need to record transactions, and we need to gather relevant data, including bank statements and any reports for sales. Also gathering relevant data for payroll for the previous month. So everything is kind of working in reverse. If we are in February, I am working on the month-end bookkeeping cycle for January. Now, after you have gathered all of your relevant data for the previous month, you've ensured that it's all been entered into QuickBooks or your accounting system. Then you want to reconcile your bank accounts. So you want to go in and reconcile your checking account, your savings account, your credit card, whatever accounts that are bringing in all of the transactions, those are the accounts that you need to reconcile. If you're not using QuickBooks, because QuickBooks makes this really easy, then you would want to have a separate checklist for all of those accounts, so you can just mark those off one by one as you get them done every month. Ideally, you would have a one-page sheet for all of the items that you need to do in terms of the month-end bookkeeping cycle. And I have a little template that I'll link down in the description box. You can use that, and if you want to add to it or modify it, I'll also link a blank page, so that way you can kind of modify it according to your own needs, because every business is going to be different. Kind of like the same types of things that we're going to be doing, but the details in between are always going to be different. So once you have recorded all the transactions, you have gathered relevant data, you have made sure everything is entered for the previous month, and you have reconciled all your accounts, now is a good time to review your financial statements. So I would go ahead and run the financial statements, and this could include your profit and loss statement, this could include your balance sheet, this could also include any aging accounts, like for accounts payable or accounts receivable. So you want to look for the report that says accounts payable aging or accounts receivable aging. Run all of those reports, and if you see anything that's out of the ordinary or that you need to follow up with, like for example, if you have an outstanding invoice and you're like, oh wait, I thought I billed that customer and I thought they said that they were going to send in the payment. Where's the payment? So that is a follow-up item. So you need to go back to that customer and say, hey, I haven't received your payment. So if there's any follow-up items that you need to do, now is the time to do it. If there's any adjusting entries, this is the next step. If there's any adjusting entries, like for example, let's say you entered a payroll journal entry and you put it to the wrong account. And so when you ran the financial statements, you saw that it was in the wrong account. So now would be the time to do that adjusting entry to move it to the correct category or account in your accounting system. So that would be considered an adjusting entry. And if there's any other loose ends that you want to go through and fix any errors or reclassify any transactions, now is the time. Your last step would be to prepare your month-end financial statements for the previous month. So I'd be working on the January financial statements. And this is where you would make sure everything looks in great shape before you send it out to your constituents. So for example, if you are a nonprofit organization, you need to send out your monthly financial statements to board members or to the president or to the treasurer. So you want to make sure it's in tip-top shape before it gets sent to them. This can also include if you're not a nonprofit and you're just a business or single member LLC or just an entrepreneur and you have other constituents like stakeholders or advisors, now is the time that you would send it over to them, and then you can collaborate using this financial data for any upcoming major decisions that you need to make for your business. This is also the time at the end of the year where you would be sending in your final financial statements to your CPA or your tax accountant, and they would use that in order to help file your tax return. So that is kind of like the whole month-end bookkeeping cycle. It repeats every month, and that's why it's called a cycle. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. It's just making sure that you are creating the habit to do all of these steps in a timely manner every month. And if you need help with that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll go ahead and link my discovery call link there because that is what my business does for other smaller businesses and entrepreneurs, and that's what we do. And I personally use Asana to help keep me organized for all of these things. So I would also recommend taking a look at Asana because that might also help you too. It's just so much easier when you know what the task is and that it recurs every month. It's like a no-brainer to use a project management system in order to help keep you organized. All right, friends, that is all I have for you today. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.